Welcome everybody to my reading of the Fifth Directive. It's the second book in the Maripi series. And if you're not familiar with the series, the first one is the purple book here called Caparina. It's young adult science fiction, but it's got mystery, intrigue, a little sweet romance, and it's similar in style to my historical romance, just with a science fiction flavor to it. So the Fifth Directive follows the story of a girl in the first book. Her name is Celeste, and she has a friend named Pulsar. So the second book follows his story and the girl that he's going to end up with. And it goes through two different points of view. It's got his point of view and then her point of view. So second book is about honeybees. That's what that Maripi and this book are based on. And for the first book, we have the butterflies and lightning bugs, and we've got the honeybees in this one. And so in the second book, the premise is that Pulsar, he is into trade and labor negotiations, and he's going to go to the West Township to do something with between the Hive Maripi, which is the honeybee group, and then the people that live in the Warren, which is the West Township. So everybody in the book is a human person. They just have kind of qualities that are related to insects. So I've been asked that recently. So I'm going to get started part of the way through. The very first part helps set up kind of what's going to happen in the story and tell a little bit of the lingo that explains the Hive Maripi. I try to make everything very clear so that you don't have to wonder what things are. And like in a lot of science fiction, you're kind of trying to figure out what's going on with the people, and I try to make it very clear. So I'm going to start reading right before Pulsar meets the girl that he's going to end up with. Her name is Farah, and the very beginning of this, I mentioned a girl named Yenoa, and that's his friend Jules' sister, so that's who that is. And then the rest of it is going to be him seeing Farah for the first time, what she kind of thinks about him, and what's going on in the story, and then a little bit of his reaction to her. So I thought that was the best place to start rather than going through all of the more tedious introduction stuff. So I think that is everything I was going to say for the introduction. So if y'all have any questions at the end, feel free to ask anything, and I will get started now. So, extricating himself from Yenoa's attentions, he stood at the edge of the room to watch the family dynamics. Having never had a large family, he both feared and yearned for it. He was absorbed in trying to remember everyone's names when a side door crashed open. In swarmed a tall girl, almost as tall as him, with hair the color of dark amber braided around her crown. Her slim figure was dressed much the same as him, in a brown canvas motor jacket over a gray button-up shirt. She had the long legs of her gray cargo pants tucked into brown boots and sported a pouch on her belt along with a pair of goggles. He needed some of those. All in all, she was a ranting and raving beauty with a host of the most charming freckles and fiery jade eyes that were staring right at him. "What's that bloke doing, counting her freckles?" 18-year-old Farah tore her jade eyes away from his captivating silver ones. She wasn't about to be sidetracked by one of Yenoa's blokes. "I've been evicted from the grafting," she yelled in voice and in sign. Her Aunt Abella buzzed over to pat her on the back. There, Farah," she said mechanically. "We all knew it was possible, honey. You never even started to metamorphose." Was that supposed to make her feel better? As a worker in the royal family, she took her role as QIT number 5 seriously. No one believed that, of course, because of her personality. She wasn't sweet like Mills, her oldest sister, or studious like Nectia, her middle sister. She wasn't maternal like Polly, or beautiful like Genoa. She was Farah, sarcastic, guarded Farah, a tomboy. The stranger stayed where he was, staring at her. Well, why shouldn't he? She'd run in there half-cocked. Again. Polly's big gray-green eyes were sympathetic, while Genoa's were amused. Another face popped into her consciousness. Oi, Farah, I'm back, said Jules, her favorite cousin and best friend. She wrapped him in a tight bear hug. I'm ineligible, she whispered, determined not to cry. It hurts. You know it hurts. I know, he replied, releasing her. I've got a great idea. Why don't you join us? Us? Where? He pointed to the staring bloke. Farah, this is Pulsar, a mate of mine from the Corps. He's here for the labor and trade negotiations. He thumbed toward her. This is Farah, mate, one of the girls I was telling you about. She hoped to moon her freckles hid her blooming cheeks. Jules was up to something, and she wanted no part of it. She shook off her nerves and held out her hand, hoping it wasn't buzzing. Nice to meet you, she said, maintaining eye contact with the good-looking bloke. He was taller than her by about 6 inches, and his skin was coppery brown. Short, milk-colored hair was whisked by bits of jade. His gray shirt with the sleeves rolled up showed some nice muscles she didn't want to notice. She forced her knees not to go all jelly when he grasped her hand firmly. The pleasure's all mine, Farah. She dropped his hand as soon as was polite. Never before had a bloke affected her like that. The eviction had thrown her off her game. It is, isn't it? She said with less conviction than usual. Jules raised one of his annoying eyebrows at her, along with the side of his mouth. He knew her far too well. She was in enemy territory. So, what do you say, Farah? Jules asked, cockily crossing his arms. Are you coming? Let me get my things, she replied, marching away to hide her complete discomposure. Pip and Mila, Mills' brood, ambushed her as soon as she re-entered her comb. 6-year-old Pip was a chocolate-haired, stocky little drone who would grow into his muscles soon enough. His little sister, 2-year-old Mila, was as light as a piece of pollen with short, carroty curls. Play with us, Farah, yelled Pip as he swung from her arm. Not now, Pip, I'm busy. Busy? Mila repeated with a goofy smile. She scooped the little worker up to nuzzle her cute-as-a-bee nose. Later, brood. We'll play when I get back. Where are you off to? Asked Mills, coming from their kitchen. Her tall, lithe sister would make a wonderful queen someday. She had a regal bearing, dark auburn curls, intelligent emerald eyes, and a disposition as sweet as Mill, as her name implied. Jules asked me to go with him and that Pulsar bloke to the negotiations. Pulsar? Mills asked, puzzled. Oh, you mean the council advisor. The Queen is not pleased with Flint for calling in outsiders. It could get nasty, Farah. Honig, Mills' tall, dark husband, entered the atrium and picked up both of his brood. Hi, honey, he said, kissing Mills. Farah, it's sure to be a madhouse. Be careful, little sis. I will, she replied, warming as always to his endearment. She'd always wanted a brother. She passed her mum on the stairs. Bee was a trim worker with frizzy ginger hair and a keen sense of humor. Farah liked to think she took after her over her da Panal, who is as serious as they come. You've done a 180, Mum said, stopping her. Why are you smiling? I'm not. Am I? Farah asked. From ear to ear. She repeated the bit about the negotiations, but left Pulsar out. Mum would see right through her. Her mother shook her head. My sister, she said, looking at the floor. Be careful, Farah. Farah shifted from foot to foot. Everyone keeps saying that, Mum. I know Queen Apis can be difficult, but keep your eyes open, honey, and don't overlook anything. Ignorance is not bliss. It's dangerous. Yes, Mum, I understand. She grabbed her gray linen shawl and wrapped it over her head to protect her hair from the intense starlight and constant dust. Pulling on her fingerless leather gloves, she checked to make sure the poison tip of her stinger, a short staff-like defense weapon, was retracted for safety before slinging it across her back. She exited her room with a brief glance in the mirror, just to check if she'd got her scarf on straight. Pulsar was thankful for his newly acquired goggles as he followed Jules and Farah toward the hive. They determined it was better for him to meet with Queen Apis first, as doing otherwise would have offended beyond repair. Even though he'd had a lot of training and experience in negotiation and mediation, this business bothered him. It didn't sound like the queen of the hive Maripi was the type to be easily swayed by clever tactics and mind games. Forget plain old common sense. The hive was a massive dome-shaped structure called a skep, this one built out of local red rock. It was so huge that Pulsar couldn't even see the top. Many small windows broke the redstone surface, glinting in the bright starlight. The hive appeared to glow from within, or at least the whole thing was very shiny. It was only an illusion after all. When Jules gave their names at the entrance, a mute Farah moved behind Pulsar. His friend had explained that although she had been fifth in line for the throne, her failure to metamorphose made her ineligible, hence the scene earlier. Pulsar was surprised she'd agreed to accompany them. "You all right?" he asked, as if they waited for approval to enter. "Yeah," she replied, surprised. Then she scowled. "I've got better things to do than worry about what they think of me." They were let into a high-ceilinged foyer of crystalline amber resin. Skylights let in golden starlight, which fractured off the hexagonal pillars and arches in radiant fashion. The hive was buzzing with activity as workers and drones darted about, fulfilling their duties. Pulsar followed Jules through an open set of doors into the throne room. The cavernous chamber of starlit amber made Pulsar's pace slow. It was magnificent. Like a more glorious extension of the foyer, hexagonal designs covered the walls, pillars, and floor. A pure, sweet scent filled his lungs, tugging on something in his memory. Before he could grasp it, Farah crashed into him. "Oi, why'd you stop?" she asked, rubbing her cute freckled nose. "Sorry," he replied, taking up the slack between him and Jules. She was already under his skin. How was that possible? Right, so if you want to find out what happens, you have to read the book. So, do you have any questions?
So where did you get the ideas for this, as far as like the beehive and
Beehive. Well, my grandfather was a beekeeper, so I've always been interested in bees and find them absolutely fascinating. And I thought it was kind of an accident that I even did insects at all. It just happened, and I thought I'll just keep doing more things about them because they're just so fascinating, and God made these creatures that we just look at and we don't think about how amazing they are, and I want to show everybody how amazing they really are. So honeybees, so much of what the hive Maripi do and everything that goes along with them is directly from honeybees. Now I did do a little bit of imagination as well to make it fit with humans, but that's my purpose doing it, and I just love honeybees too. So as you can see,
yeah, I should show it.
and my earrings, my necklace, so, but
Okay. Well, thank you. Very nice. Thank you.
thank you.